Welcome back, everyone. Betska the Guru Coach together with Raj Vashisht, and we are Mindful Leadership Beyond Borders. Our guest today with a topic that is vital to our health in all areas of our life. Our guest is Roman S. Shapoval, and we were talking about EMFs in history and how everything basically on this planet is giving off EMFs. And Roman, I was just thinking, when we look at some of the teenagers today and the younger people, being a life coach and executive coach, I see this all the time. Their inability to focus for longer than 5 minutes, and even on TikTok or places like that, we post videos that are 40 seconds long. So has there been any research on focus? We so far we've talked about mental health. I'm sure it's impacting our liver, our kidneys, all of our organs, and we'll talk more about that. And also in this part, I'd love to bring in nature and how it's, the ecological damage that's happening. But have you done any research on why so many people are having difficulty with focus today?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So one of my colleagues, I met her a few years ago, but her name's Dr. Magda Habas in Ontario, and she did research along with Dr. Samuel Milham, who's an epidemiologist. He's in his 90s, but he's been
Wow.
tracking this issue since the 1960s. He wrote a book called Dirty Electricity. And dirty
Ah.
electricity, yeah, it talks about the what's called the kilohertz frequency. So in our homes and in schools and buildings, we have our electrical wiring is typically 60 hertz, or in Europe, it's 50 hertz. I'm not sure, Raj, what it is for you in India, but probably 50 hertz. But basically, that the hertz is a cycle per second. Okay, so um, if you live in North America, your electrical wiring pulses 60 times per second. That's 60 hertz. Our brain waves, from theta to alpha, delta, it goes anywhere from 4 to 30 if you're in the gamma, closer to the lower gamma range. So our brain waves generate their own electromagnetic field, and
Mhm.
so to think, to dance, to write, to meditate, to sleep, our brains need this frequency. But when we surround ourselves in higher frequencies, so dirty electricity, now where does this even come from? Basically, in short, it comes from our power grid that wasn't wired up the right way. And there's articles I've written about that. If you're interested, I can definitely send you the research. But so these kilohertz frequencies, they're more intense, or they're faster than what our brain perceives. Um, Now we also have Wi-Fi, which is around 2.5 billion hertz. So and then the kilohertz are about 100,000 hertz. So if you put yourself in a field, like say school, that has 100,000 to 2.5 billion, and now with 5G, it's up to 30 billion potentially hertz. Now, how is your brain going to think, right? It's like trying to,
Yeah.
you're surrounded by constant noise, and you don't hear that, but your brain still perceives it as a frequency, just like you don't hear the pulses when you're sleeping. So back to Magda Habas and Samuel Milham, they did this a few experiments, but one was in Trent, Ontario, at a high school, and they noticed that students had massive amounts of ADHD,
Yes.
anxiety,
Mhm.
cognitive distress. When they put in, it was a blind experiment. They put in these filters. They're called Stetzer filters, and when this filtered out the dirty electricity in the home, or sorry, I should say in the school. So
Mm.
when they filtered out the dirty electricity, these kilohertz frequencies went down substantially. the teachers noted that students had better concentration, they were more creative, they were able to think more clearly, right? And so did the
Mm-hmm.
teachers. So, and there's been
Yeah.
many, many studies. It's not just one, it has been replicated.
Wow.
So again, you can look up the research of Magda Havas, who's an international speaker. She's spoken to European Parliament on this issue.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Samuel Milham, again, he wrote the book Dirty Electricity, if you want to check that out. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
there definitely are issues with that. And then there's the light aspect too. We have this blue light that's artificial. And if you go to a health line or you type in Google, is blue light harmful? They're going to say no. Well, because the sun has blue light. That's what they're going to
Mm.
say. But what they don't tell you is that your phones don't have red wavelengths or other wavelengths that the sun has. And those wavelengths that the sun has balance out the blue, and they also regenerate what's called ocular melatonin, subcellular melatonin, all these things that calm us and refresh our nervous system. The sun
Mm-hmm.
has those, but our phones have none of that. So that's another issue that we're getting. And then add on top of that, all the social media and the scroll effect that, Silicon
Mm-hmm.
Valley has made these phones like a slot machine. So you're constantly scrolling down to get rewarded, right?
Yeah.
That's what
Yeah.
they've done. And
Wow.
now they're saying, oh, well, we're going to make age verification, legal so kids can be protected.
Mm.
No, because now kids have to scan their whole face. They're going to get more biometric data on these children. That's going to be sold to a third party. It already is being sold out and to third parties for their voice, everything. Um, so we're in a space where we need to really care for ourselves. Families need to care for their children, and we need to take personal responsibility for this issue.
Ooh la la. Okay. So these EMFs are affecting our mental health, affecting our physical health. I can imagine what it's doing to our heart and our eyes and our
Mhm.
hearing and our kidneys and liver and intestine. What's it doing? What are the ecological impacts of EMF? Tell us about that. I'm worried about the
Yeah.
whales, for example.
hmm Yeah, no, that's a great question. So yeah, so whales, I don't have actual research on the whales. However,
Hmm.
frequencies are pulsed through the water, and we know that microwaves use water to cook things. Microwaves don't use heat. Okay, so
Mm.
anybody who says, well, the science says EMFs are safe. Well, guess what? All government standards are based on heating of skin tissue. They don't take into account the silent, invisible biological effects. Microwaves, do they cook with heat? No. They cook by stimulating and vibrating the water molecule to destruction. So it basically denatures the proteins. And I have articles on this too, if anybody wants to argue, and that's fine. But this is how it happens, right? So when we pulse radio waves now, they want to make this go through the ocean. It's called Internet of Underwater Things. The military conducts these experiments and they pulse microwaves through the ocean. Well, what's going to happen to all the water, all the life that's in the water? What's going to happen to the water
Yeah.
we drink? Because these cell towers are on the water towers. But anyway, I know it gets overwhelming, but we are in a state where, and this is where I honor your listeners because you're taking in all this new information.
Hmm.
So it's all about frequency. It's all about quality
Mm.
over quantity when it comes to these things. People say, well,
Yeah.
distance is your friend, or, it's not a big power level. But our hearts beat at 1 hertz, right? They beat at 1 cycle per second. We operate at very, very low power levels. This is how we regenerate. So going back to the ecological impacts, there have been studies on trees, bees, and specifically bees,
Ah.
because bees vibrate. They're beings of
Hmm.
frequency, and they
Hmm.
fly along electrical field lines. That's how they use the magnetic field to navigate with the
Mm.
iron that they have in their body. That iron magnetizes to the field, and that's how they find things.
Mm.
Birds also. They track navigation paths and butterflies using light and magnetic fields as well. So to put it this way, bees don't stand a chance against these kinds of frequencies.
Mm.
There have been studies. Neela Kumar and colleagues, she did a study. They placed a cell phone next to a beehive, and within minutes, the all everybody was dead. All the bees were dead. And
No
this is a
way.
yeah,
Oh
so
my
it's called
God.
colony collapse disorder, and people have been trying to blame it on pesticides, and can never figure out why the bees are dying. The
Mm.
pesticides are bad. Okay, I'm not for pesticides,
Yeah, yeah.
but it doesn't explain the colony collapse because pesticides a lot of times bees will just fly away or they'll die, but they don't have a total disorientation where they can't navigate anymore. So that's what happens when you put a cell phone there. They basically just can't navigate. And there are solutions there. I have a colleague out of Washington State. He uses a thing called shungite. It's a certain type of rock, a
Yeah, it's a
meteoric
crystal.
rock.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, crystal.
Yeah.
Sorry. And the shungite has the same exact structure, hexagonal structure as a beehive. It's carbon 60
Ah.
molecule, and that helps absorb some of these frequencies. He hasn't had one instance of colony collapse disorder since he's put the shungite paint over the beehive. And the bees will even take the shungite into there you go. They'll even take the shungite into the hive because they resonate. They're in biological resonance with this molecule. So there are
Oh,
solutions out there, right?
yeah. That's
But we
amazing. That's
can't
amazing.
discount what's happening to the
No.
rest of nature.
Mm. Thank you. So, we're gonna have you back because this is information overload. But
Yeah, sorry.
it's a lot. But I'm just your brain is amazing how you've been able to keep all of this in there and spit it out. So, okay, how can we simplify our lives amidst all the technology and AI and we talked about the sunshine and how Bogdana got better, just by going out into the
Mhm.
sunshine, which I really agree with. But what else can people do? Turn their
Mhm.
power off at night or what? What do we do?
Yeah, actually, yeah. So back to our motto, power on with light, power off at night. To keep it simple, what Bodana and I do is when we get up in the morning, we if we need to for some reason open up the refrigerator or you look at a screen before the sunrise, which we try not to do, but we have these blue blocking glasses, um, and but we'll always make sure that the first light we see is the sunrise, or we'll make sure that we get outside first thing. We have amber red lights in our house. They're clip-ons. We have, they're very cost effective, some of them. So, for if you need to get up and go to the bathroom, that kind of thing. But yeah, every night I go to the circuit breaker and I shut off the power to the bedroom. Because any electromagnetic field, if you have a live wire, live electrical current running through your bedroom, anything from a smart meter to a Wi-Fi or your cell phone, anything that creates a frequency is going to magnetize onto that field. It's an electromagnetic field. So it'll pair with that electrical wiring. So if you shut that wiring off, that power to your bedroom, that's going to reduce the electromagnetic influence drastically. And you're going to be able to, you may be able to sleep a little bit better. Or sorry, you may feel like you're sleeping a little bit better. Women tend to feel better because they're more sensitive. Men, in my experience, they don't notice an impact. It is helping them, but they don't notice it as much. It depends on the individual, but that's one thing that we do that's huge. It costs you nothing. It actually saves you money, and you don't need to
Mm.
buy anything to do that. But the issue is so many people have gotten used to having things plugged in. They have this thing that they need, and then oh, how do I shut the power off? So we teach people how to deconstruct their lives to kind of
Ah.
like for instance, a cell phone. There's like seven different functions on there, right? Alarm clock, camera, GPS, all these things that people use, but now we've taught people how to deconstruct that, so then they can kind of have that analog lifestyle that we're primed to live. So that's one thing. The light is a big one, and having boundaries too. We teach people how to create those boundaries, how to put your cell phone in a, like, we have a special container that we put our cell phones in, and we keep it in a certain room. And then I have a desktop, where we, a shared computer station that we've created. So it just creates that space, because how many families, right? And I've done it too. No judgment here, but we'll have our cell phone on the dinner table, right? And it's a distraction, right? So it's
Yep.
just all about creating those healthy boundaries and giving yourself the time. We go on walks every day. We don't take our cell phone with us,
No.
we give ourselves the time to go for a walk. 20 minutes is not going to kill you. If the world explodes in 20 minutes, well, what are you going to do about it? When did a cell phone ever save your life? Really, right? So, you need to think for yourself, right? If a bear attacks you in the woods, what are you going to do? I mean, all these parents are also giving their children these tracking devices, right?
Yes.
Well, guess what? Those Apple iWatches and stuff like that, that can be hacked into by a criminal too, and they can see where your child is going now, right? So
Yep.
these things work both ways, and we just need to be more present, more mindful. And again, I'm happy to talk to anyone who has questions about it.
Okay, great. So
Carefree. Sometime, we need to live carefree.
good point.
Yeah,
Yeah, live
exactly.
carefree. Yeah. Just like,
Mm.
I mean, when I was growing up, we never
Yes.
had cell phones or, I mean,
Whenever
there's
I
so
go
little.
gym, I never use my phone. I always keep my phone in locker room. I always keep my one phone for only for music, not for
Mm,
anything, for 2 hours.
Ah,
I don't want
right.
to check.
Mm. That's
nice.
just
You know,
great. Okay. So are there articles so you said on Substack, also on the powercouple.ca, are there
yeah, yeah.
information
If you
there
go
for
to our
people as
website,
well? Mm-hmm.
yeah, you can read up
Okay.
there. And, we also created a very easy guide for people. It's called Parent's Guide to Tech Addiction. But this
Okay.
is a guide that we wish we had when we were growing up. But it's,
Mm-hmm.
it has tons of articles and studies that you can show to somebody who may not believe that EMFs are a problem.
Yeah.
And it's very easy to explain to others how to use light to your advantage.
Okay. Awesome.
But yeah, there's so many things you can do. I mean,
Yeah.
you can get your own EMF meter, but before you do that, reach out to us, because there's so many different kinds on the market, and you don't want to waste your money. But
Mm.
if you want to really track those things, but best thing you can do, shut off your power at night, and then get up for that sunrise. See it, don't wear the sunglasses, just get out for the sunrise. And yeah, do that for a week, and then tell us how you feel.
Well, I tell you, I'm sure you've woken up the world today, our world anyway, the people who are watching our podcast. Very, very interesting and incredibly valuable. Thank you for your service to humanity and to the animal people and the oceans and the bees and the birds. And thank you, thank you, thank you. So, all right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yes. God bless you.